Hey, I'm Katie Johnson, and we're back with another conversation about layouts. If you follow my videos, you know that I keep this little book. This is actually number 3. These are just little albums that you can get at the dollar store. They have pockets that you can slip a 4x6 photo in, which means that they work nicely for a quarter sheet of our paper, and I can put my layout samples in here. So the idea of the layout book is not that this is something for a butterfly. It's just this is a way to arrange parts on a piece of paper. So that doesn't have to be a butterfly. It could be a flower. It could be a star or a heart. It could be a cute little animal cutout. It could be anything. It's just how do I put the parts on the paper? Now, I have people who have come to me and said, okay, Katie, you keep making all these pages to put in the layout book. Do you ever go back and use them? And the answer is yes, I do. In one of two ways. Either I am looking at a layout and I say, oh, that's a good layout for, a couple of circles and some foliage. And then I'll say, now, what can I put in that position? And I'll go look at the stuff that I have, and it helps me to focus and use my stuff, because I might not have pulled out a stamp set with a particular flower or a cute little animal if I didn't have an idea that I needed something about this size to use on that layout. The other way that I might use my layout book is that I may say, I've got this stamp set. So instead of going from the layout to the stamp set, I go backwards from the stamp set to the layout. And so I may say, oh, I've got this cute image here. I've got these awesome little well, this is not real size. They're a little bigger. So I've got this cute little turtle down here about this big-ish. What layout do I have that would work for it? All right. And that's what I'm going to do today. So this is the most recent addition to the layout book. It was a layout with something tall, 2 focal points, and a sentiment. And the point in the video where I created these pages was that the design works for either something vertical or it could work for a horizontal concept. Again, something tall, 2 things, and a sentiment. So my images are going to come from the sea turtle set. That's going to be my main focal point. And then for the tall foliage, seaweedy stuff that's going to be on the left, I thought I would pull out some of the imagery from Thoughtful Wishes. It's got this stamp set in it, but it also has some dies. And so I'm going to pull out some of these things. What I've already pre-cut for myself is this shape here. And there's actually a couple of extra things in the die set that aren't like frameless. They don't cut out a stamped image. They're just extras. So I've pulled out one of these. I went for all blues, right? Because it's an underwater scene. So we've got some silver over here. And then because this is going to be a monotone card. It's underwater, so everything's kind of blue. But blue with highlights of light. So look at this pack. This is a new product. This is gold and silver trim. So this kind of looks like sparkly, something that you would see underwater with something lit up. So we're going to add some of this ribbon to the product as well. Now before we came on, I played around with a bunch of backgrounds, and I'm going to show you how I made them because they're all a little bit different. First of all, this one is on regular basic white cardstock, and this one is on watercolor paper. And the way that the paper's picked up the color is a little bit different. I'm going to make one more right now so that you can see how it all goes together. So because there's water involved, I need to have something that's going to protect my paper surface, even though you see this big blue mess over here. So this is a silicone craft sheet that Stampin' Up sells, and they're cheap. I think they're like $6 or something. So I'm going to use these. Let me pull in a couple of bases for the card. So let's take a quick minute and talk about the blue colors because I'm going to pull my inks in here. My main card is going to be Azure Afternoon. And then I want something a little bit darker, so I'm pulling in Blueberry Bushel. And I wanted, in the water scenes, I wanted a little bit of something lighter, and so I'm pulling in Balmy Blue. So it's going to be this combination of blues. As far as sizes on the sheet, I've cut this down to, usually we go down a 1/4 inch, but I cut this a 1/2 inch smaller than the front because as an underwater thing, I really want to have it framed by something blue that says that we're under the water. All right, 2 other tools. Stampin' Up sells blending brushes. I keep one for a color family, and they clean up pretty nice. So before I use it, I'll always take it off on a piece of scrap paper and just make sure that it's semi-clean before I put it into another ink pad, but clearly I'm not all that careful about it. This is another product that Stampin' Up sells you. So this is a mister, and I want to get my paper wet. And you'll notice I'm not using the watercolor paper. I'm just using our regular Whisper white paper. And then what I want to do, oops, I want to do it sideways though. And I'm going to come in and just start adding my color to it. Now this is the lightest of the colors. This is the darkest, and we're just going to add a little bit here, and then we'll come and fill in with the Azure Afternoon and take things from there as dark as I feel like I need them to be. Work with water on a project, it does get this curl to it, but it's going to all flatten out when we get it attached to our project. Okay, let's start building. The first thing I'm going to do is add some of this gorgeous silver highlights, and I'm going to put 2 strips on the left of each card. I'm just cutting myself pieces that are a little bit longer than what the distance is that I need, and then I'm going to attach them from the back. So a little bit of tape working from the front, and remember there's this bow in here, so I want this to be flat on my project, so I'm going to lay it flat right here and then just wrap the silver ribbon around. Now ordinarily I would advise people to build their whole card front before they put it onto the card, but in this case, because of how curved it is, I'm actually going to adhere it to my card front right now. And I'm going to use probably a little more adhesive than I normally might. Again, just because of the curve that's in the paper, because it was wet when I added the ink. Now I've used mostly this, but I'm also going to come in where the ribbon is and put a little bit of glue, because that will also help to hold it in position. So now we're ready to start adding our layers on here. So if you're going to try and repeat something like this, you just saw me use the liquid glue. This particular ribbon doesn't have very much height to it, so I'm not really worried about it not adhering well, but you'd have to judge based on whatever ribbon you're using, whether it looks unnatural to have it go down to card level base when it's sitting, part of it sitting up on top of that ribbon. For this project, I'm confident that it looks fine. There's going to be so many layers on this by the time I'm done that nobody's going to notice or question what adhesive I used to put this big piece on. So this is going to help to hold it while I do the rest of the gluing, just to hold things together while that glue sets. So we're going to let a little bit of the silver hang out over here, and then have the blue a little bit off to the side, I think. Fast forwarded through quite a bit of that, and you saw several things happening there. You saw the fact that it's a very skinny surface. This is it's a bigger nozzle compared to the size of the surface that I'm putting the glue onto. You'll also notice that because I had it stored vertical, the glue was all down in the head, and it's just ready to pop right out, and it was coming out faster than I wanted. So it was getting stuck on my silicone mat, which was not what I wanted. And then I ended up just using my finger to kind of paint it on, and that's actually working pretty well. So you can leave some comments about what adhesive you would use on a project like this. And then tell me what you think of this process. Have you tried it? Do you have a little tips and tricks? People love hearing your comments because they get ideas from me, but they get ideas from you too about how you would apply the glue to this. And I know Stampin' Up! Sells adhesive sheets, and I could have die cut it with the adhesive sheet. I just didn't do that. So didn't these turn out pretty with all those layers? So now let's talk about our sentiment, and let's talk about our turtles. All right, talking about the turtles. This is a piece of Azure Afternoon cardstock. So it's going to be blue turtle and blue water scene. This is the turtle stamp, but I pulled in a slightly darker ink. This is the Blueberry Bushel ink. Okay, so now check out, see that sparkle all over? Super, super awesome. The other thing I want to show you about the turtle body is that the turtle body is kind of flat, and with the fussy cutting and the way I'm holding it, it looks like the body is down. Okay, I want that body to be up. So now I'm using my finger and I'm just kind of bending it this way. And maybe that's enough to give it some dimension, like a turtle shell rounded. But we have another tool. Check out this. This is the Take Your Pick tool. It comes with a putty end. It comes with a pokey tool. And twist, pull it out. Ooh, did you know that there was another end in there? That's cool, the spatula end. So it comes with a putty end. It comes with this insert. It also comes with a double-headed stylus that you can move, that you can replace. So I'm going to pop that thing in and show you what I do with my turtle. So I'm bringing in a foam pad. You could try a mouse pad on here, but you want something kind of firm. This is a piercing pad. So I'm just going to take that big stylus and I'm going to go around the outside to begin with. And then I'm just going to totally rough up the inside. Now I'm pushing down. Remember, with my fingers I tried to create some dimension so that it would look like the turtle shell was popped up. And that's part of what I'm doing with the stylus. And it's more effective because what the stylus is doing is it's actually breaking some of the fibers in the turtle shell. And look at how that really has a little bit of a mounded up look to it. So I like that look on my turtle for the card. I'm going to do one more, and again I'm going around the outside, and then I'm just totally going around in circles in the middle here to break up the fibers and give some extra dimension to that turtle shell. All right, that didn't get me the shine, it just got me the shape. So how am I going to get the shine on there? Because check out this one right here. There's one I did last night. Ooh, a little bit of extra shine, like a hard shell, right? And it's got that curve because I did the same thing with my stylus. So this is ready to go for one of them. And now I'm working on the two that will go on the other card. So how did I get that shine? That is my fine tip glue pen, which sometimes I use this for glue, but more often than not, this is simply another embellishment that I use on projects. So this is a very tiny nozzle on the end there. There's a very tiny nozzle on the end of that, but I can use that to just paint these little squares on my turtle shell. It lets me have really fine control over where this fine tip glue is going, and this glue dries hard like acrylic. It's got a very high surface tension, which means it doesn't spread out and dribble across your project. It's going to stay mounded up right where you put it. And you can see how quick this is going because I'm not fast forwarding through this part at all. This is a quick way, well, it's a quick way to go back and add the color, but it takes a little while to dry. I did these last night. I didn't need to wait overnight, but I am going to have to wait at least an hour to add these to my project. So now I get that shine. And I've got the raised up mounded, and we're ready to add those to our project. Let me finish this one up quick. You do want to keep the lid on this fairly quickly. And you do want to make sure that this little needle goes right into the nozzle. And I store this vertically. I tried different ways to add sentiments on this. This I stamped in white. And I like the contrast for a nautical scene of white on blue, but I don't have any other white on this card. But I do have silver, so I silver embossed it. And I silver embossed it on this this die cut, or this punch piece, but this is way too big. So I'm going to fussy cut this one. That looks pretty good. And you tell me, do you like that one better or do you like this one better? And I guess the question is, can you see a difference between the two of them? Because what I did on this one is I used my coordinating color marker, and I just went around the outside and added a little bit of an ink framing around the outside of this thing. I'm going to do part of it on this one and see if you notice a difference on there. It's kind of subtle, kind of depends on how the light is, where my camera is, and the light's in the room, and maybe it's noticeable on camera or not. But it's enough of a subtle little difference that I am going to go back and add this. All right, when I add this, I'm just going to add my sentiment right to the surface of the card, but I'm going to raise these guys up on dimensional. So let's finish up this one. That one has to wait till the other turtles dry. And I'm going to show you another trick over here. Because there is already some curvature to the body and I really want to accentuate that, I'm actually going to use 2 dimensionals. So I'm going to take this release paper off, and I'm going to carefully layer this second one in my hand on top of the one that's still down on the paper. And now I have a double thick. See how that's going to really raise this guy up, but also help to keep that curve. Okay, where do I want these guys? He's going to be swimming up. And then to complete the look of light highlights from sunlight highlights, on the project, we're going to add a couple of rhinestones. I need to switch from my stylus back to my pokey end. And if you don't know how these work, there's just a little protection in there and a little groove in there, and it just slips right in. Super easy peasy. I can't even imagine crafting without this. When I first got it, I was like, felt like an extra something that I didn't need, and now I can't imagine not using it. So this whole project evolved out of a conversation about layouts. So would you look at those two and say they came from the same general layout? Because this whole conversation started about, how do I use the layouts? Do I start with the parts and say, how do I arrange them on the project? Or do I start with an idea for an arrangement and then figure out what parts I'm going to use? And just as you have the freedom to say, what parts will I use, turtles or butterflies, you can also decide whether you're going to use that with stamped images or whether you're going to use die cut images, how much bling to add to it, whether you add some ribbon or not, and just turn them into as complicated and layered a project as you want. But the point is, it starts with a plan. So if you like this, if you like seeing layouts and how to create things using a layout, then make sure that if you're watching on Facebook, that you have followed my page. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. And hey, I do this every Monday. I'm Katie Johnson, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.